The first fight with Maki is very simple. All that we can do is bash away until the fight ends automatically. And we do just that, get our hard mode medal, and now that we're out in the open, to keep with the theme of only being able to use Pebble Toss in every fight, I am only allowed to do 1 damage per attack. Pebble Toss limits you to only 1 damage every time you use the move against an enemy. There are some exceptions, but none of those exceptions exist for Chapter 1. If we break this rule, we're forced to either lose the fight or run away altogether. And yes, this is a freaking nightmare for me. So get this, because of the rules of this challenge, I can't have the character in front attack. Yep, this is probably the one and only time that being able to do more damage is keeping me from doing damage. After all, I can't turn relay until after we rescue Leaf, which makes the fight with Spooter kind of tricky. The most I could do is super block as often as I possibly could, while the character in behind the character in front, i.e. Kabu, completely fails every attack he tries to do, while V just super blocks as often as possible. After a while, we do in fact rescue Leaf. And now with Leaf Tangerine being rescued, I can't believe I just said that, we can now turn relay, which means that we can now do a whopping 3 damage per turn. I fight my rank up to level 2, but that's really all I go up to because, as you can already imagine, grinding is gonna be hell in this challenge. And because I'm only doing 1 damage every time I attack, that also means I want to be able to hold out for a long time. And so I grab myself plenty of magic seeds so that I can actually heal myself enough to not get knocked out in the fight with Spooter. So leave a comment down below because I'm genuinely curious. How long does it normally take you to beat Spooter? In this challenge, it took me 14 minutes. There's really nothing to mention as far as strategy in this fight, so let me tell you about how I was able to do 3 damage every turn. As you know, the character in front cannot attack because they'll do 2 damage with their attack, not just 1. So what I had to do instead was have the characters in back and in the middle do a failed action command for their attacks, and then relay the turn from the character in front to the character in either the back or in the middle, and in return, they have to successfully lend their action command to do 1 damage. It's overly complex, and it's confusing, and it's exactly what I love about this freaking game. There's just so much potential for so many challenges all in this one game, and it really tests your creativity to make them happen. It's a lot like Paper Mario in that respect, actually. Something else is that Leaf's elemental advantage against fungi only takes effect if you lend the action command, otherwise he'll only do 1 damage with his attack. You also want to be careful when it comes down to Anichas. Their defense means you either want to be able to flip them over with Kabu in the back, or use either Leaf or V if they're in the front to do their attack without missing the action command. And all this time, remember that Spooter is trying to take you out. Now, it wasn't a problem for me because I made sure to have plenty of magic seeds, and with how long these fights typically take, you don't want to fail even once. Especially here. I love, by the way, just how often it happens that our main characters have their horns broken. And now, since we're in Chapter 2, we can make our hearty breakfast for Chuck and get ourselves the coveted Mighty Pebble medal. Which can only mean... it's showtime! Now the challenge becomes significantly more easy to process. All we have to do now is relay all of our turns to Kabu and have him spam Pebble Toss. However, it also means that we have to focus on our TP usage as well, which may or may not have also been a factor in the reason I did not want to do this with Mystery, but I'll leave you to be the judge of that. So yeah, pack for survival, and we will need to use at least 1 item for the fight with the Wasp Trooper as well. That aside, this fight is honestly no different than normal. In fact, the only real difference here is that it takes a little more time to actually KO the Fiend. Now that we can venture down the golden path, let's just get this out of the way. Items are not free. And since my max TP is so low, then odds are we're gonna have to do a lot of battles to level up, and that means use a lot of items just to not be stuck. At the very least, enemies with defense really aren't gonna be a problem for me. Pebble Toss has the advantage of ignoring any and all defense from any enemy we encounter. The only exception being golden ceilings, which are for some reason completely impervious to Pebble Toss. Which unfortunately also means that grinding golden ceilings later in the game will become completely impossible. Yet this is a bit of a dilemma. By the way, Kabu's here. Like the real-life Beetle Kabu. Now, before we continue, let's establish this as well. Because we can't do very much damage and enemies will get plenty of chances to attack us, we really need extra defense. And our options at this very moment are limited, to say mildly. However, options are options and I must take them, so let's go to subject technician trouble. Make sure you bring plenty of items to restore HP and TP for this fight. I planned for this and I brought a lot of items, but apparently it was still not enough. Not enough without good luck anyway. Yes, in theory I had enough TP to work with, but the problem was that I didn't have the HP to survive. V's secret stash can help remedy this, but if I use it too many times, well, the fight becomes impossible to win anyway. It also goes without saying, but you do not want to miss any super blocks, because if you do, you're going to have a lot of trouble on your hands. It took me almost 20 minutes to finally win this gauntlet, but once I did, I finally got Super Block Plus. This medal is fantastic, but only time will tell just how useful it would actually be. Can I just say my poor items, by the way, and my poor freaking wallet? God freaking dang it, V, why should they take so many of those berries from Queen Elizant II? We've got no choice so but to go forward and fight Arya. Now obviously, you want to use V for this fight, because Leaf offers absolutely nothing of value. He's an absolute handicap and nothing more. At least V has Secret Stash. The fight with Arya, however, would go just about how you'd expect, namely in the fact that lots of items were used in this battle. However, there's something else this fight introduces that we have to talk about, the Venus Bud. As you likely already know, Venus Buds can heal enemies. In this fight in particular, a Venus Bud can heal Arya when she's on the ground for 3 HP. Pebble Toss is an attack that only does 1 damage per hit, and you only have 2 bugs. With a turn relay, you can only do 2 damage in 1 turn. What I'm trying to say is that you're doomed to fail if you focus on Arya right now. Instead, you have to take out the Venus Bud. Now, here's an interesting bit of information for y'all back at home. If you attack a Venus Bud that's on the ground, it flies into the air. While in the air, it can't heal, but it shoots out more spores to put you to sleep. Hit it 1 more time while airborne, and it falls back down to the ground. Hit the Venus Bud 2 times in 1 turn when it starts off airborne, it'll end the turn while airborne. And while airborne, something else to mention is that it doesn't restore HP from its roots on the ground. TLDR, if you keep attacking it correctly, it will never get a chance to heal either itself or Arya. And this tactic will continue to be very useful in the Golden Hills as well, which not too much later we gain access to after we wilt the Venus Bud and then take Arya out by throwing rocks at her. And yes, this also means you can't afford to have either V or Kabu get knocked out of this fight. And just as I did say earlier, there are quite a few Venus Buds to fight in the Golden Hills as well. It's times like these I am really glad I have a black thumb. Back support is also here, which this medal will be very much important for the fight with Zasp and Mathiva. The mechanics surrounding this fight does not make it favorable for us. Zasp already has 3 attack power on hard mode. Even if you super block, you are guaranteed to take at least 1 point of damage, and you only have about 10 HP max on Kabu, with both V and Leaf only having a max 8. But to add insult to injury, he also gains +1 charge whenever Mathiva gets hurt. And when she gets knocked out, it means a permanent +1 attack bonus for Zasp, which means that you'll be losing HP really quickly without good defense. For these reasons, it makes Zasp extremely threatening to fight against. And unfortunately, you can't really target Zasp right away either, because once Zasp gets knocked out, Mathiva not too much longer afterwards will revive him with 5 HP left. And trust me, you don't want to use Pebble Toss more than necessary, because if you run out of TP, which I ended up doing multiple times trying to win this fight, you lose. As a matter of fact, I actually underestimated just how many TP items I would need for this fight, and I kept running out. Zasp has a max 25 HP, Mathiva has 20, that means you need at least 45 TP total to survive. And with how consistent you'd have to be to super block every attack that Zasp throws at you, safe to say you're going to want to heal at least every now and then to not get knocked out. In reality, you have 2 options. Option A, use back support and super block plus. And option B, use back support and poison defender. I couldn't do the latter though because I was already really broke as is, and I forgot to pick up weak stomach from Chompy.
Don't you have to be stupid somewhere else?
Not until 4.
But no matter, I did in fact use Super Block Plus and back support to win this fight, but at what cost? All of my items were gone, and all of my berries were also gone. I had absolutely nothing left. And so here ended the first day of streaming. Yeah, financial woes was a really big thorn in my side, so what I did while off stream was I did a lot of grinding. Now, don't let the amount of berries fool you. This challenge will still be a real pain in the butt to do. It's just that I have an audience, and I don't want to have them be bored by watching me grind for who knows how long. After all, let's be real here. You have better things to do than watch me cut grass for hours, just to leave the game running on my laptop to accrue interest. Now that we have plenty of money, we can fight the Venus Guardian with an inventory full of Drowsy Cakes. And it's the easiest boss fight so far. Between the massive heals from Drowsy Cakes, as well as surgically restoring HP from Secret Stash, there is actually very little risk of losing this fight. Pebble Toss doing double damage in the second phase also helped a lot here too. Boy, imagine if this boss would heal because its roots are on the ground. That would make this so much— whoa, no. Yeah, we'll get to that in a little bit later. For now, we have the bandit and wasp ambush to take care of. What I did here was have Cabo take out the wasp scout, and meanwhile, I let the burglar and thief take my items and run away. Either that, or exhaust way more items just to get a few extra exploration points. Do the math. With that taken care of, we've hit a roadblock. I then went on to get Bubble Shield Light, did some cooking, hitched a ride to Metal Island, get some tangy berries, complete some quests, and before too long, it would be time for our greatest challenge yet. Monsieur Scarlet.
Prepare for the tickling of your life!
I have to tell you something. In preparation for this fight, because I wasn't really sure if I was going to complete it or not, I put out a poll on my community tab asking my audience if they wanted to see me beat Monsieur Scarlet before or after Chapter 3. And the majority of them wanted to see me fight and defeat Monsieur Scarlet before going into Honey Factory. Now, I was dreading this decision for a variety of reasons, but the absolute biggest one? Monsieur Scarlet, aside from when he does his Crescent Beam, if he does damage, he heals. That is literally everything I have to say to make you realize just how big of a blunder this fight would be to take on right now. Now, to be fair to my viewers, no one really suspected I tried this fight on hard mode. As a matter of fact, later on that day, I put out another poll asking if people wanted to see me do this on hard mode or normal mode, and people actually chose normal mode for the majority. And well, while I do appreciate that you care about my mental health like that, I just have way too much pride. Seeing 3 other challenge runners do this fight before I could get around to it before the Honey Factory really makes me feel like I have something to prove. To be blunt, I just could not take it sitting down. However, it was becoming clear to me that fighting Monsieur Scarlet this way just would not work for me. It's too much luck involved. I do end up beating him before the Honey Factory, but I have to talk about this later. For now, I was still streaming though, and I wanted to give my audience something else to watch, so I went to try fighting Devourer instead. It didn't go very well. I was able to get decently far, but the fact of the matter is that the fight took way too long, and with no real reward for it, I didn't really have an incentive to win. I decided then to grind at the theater to give myself some extra levels, because once I have myself at rank 9, I'm going to be able to carry 13 items at once. Grinding is extremely painful in this challenge, but I figured that I could do it at the theater because I could keep getting healed after every fight. And the enemies there, the thugs, do give a lot of exploration points too. I also had plenty of berries by this point, so I was able to make plenty of crispy donuts as well. I did this process of ranking up because I remembered that both Gamer for Fun and Tribe Luxor at the very least had 13 items max, and likely also Reborn too. This did in fact give me a larger margin for error. However, it didn't really help very much for me. Even though we can survive for a little bit longer, if he feels like it, Monsieur Scarlet can still completely shut me down. If he refuses to attack Kabu while he's being protected or keeps using the AoE attack, we simply cannot make any progress at all. Also, just a friendly reminder, but if Kabu ever gets knocked out in any attempt, the fight must end immediately, because there's no way I can actually win anymore. I have nothing but Queen's Dinners, which means I have 0 magic seeds, and since Kabu's going down, my attacker as well as my reviver, well, let's just say that neither V or Leaf can use Pep Talk. Before I knew it, hours turned to days. Days turned into sleepless nights. My pride haunted me on this. I had to win this fight, but at this point, I have absolutely no desire to do this fight the way everyone else has been doing it. The 3 before me relied on luck, but I'm not about that. I hate relying on RNG because it makes me feel like my destiny is outside of my control. And I suffered a feeling of helplessness enough when I was in grade school. With all due respect, I'm not sorry for what I'm about to do. So what's a leader to do than forge his own path? I started testing other methods to try winning this fight. For example, a combination of drowsy cakes and burly candy. At the time, I was thinking about the fact that Monsieur Scarlet has a maximum of 6 attack power if his attack is up, and he goes for the heavy strike attack. This move does 5 damage by default, and lowers your attack step by 1 stage. Do the math. A Super Block reduces damage by 2, Super Block Plus pushes it to 3, Back Support makes it 4, Poison Defender makes it 5, and Burly Candy boosting your defense makes it 6. The problem with the strategy, however, is it is not practical. Burly Candy only lasts for 2 turns, and this is in Chapter 3, so there's no squash. It's a shame because if I could, I'd have loved to try using Pumpling Pie. However, in practice, this ended up being a lot more practical than I thought. Monsieur Scarlet only has 2 attacks that can force me to take damage. The Heavy Strike, and the Blown Kiss that lowers my defense by 1. But with Kabu in the back, super blocking everything, Wild Poison thanks to Weak Stomach and Poison Defender, can actually reduce Monsieur Scarlet's attack power to 0 off of a super block. This is big. because it means that in theory, this fight can actually be based off of skill and not luck. That being said, how much skill you need is what makes it so daunting. Ideally, both V and Leaf have to keep relaying turns to Kabu until Scarlet gets his permanent +1 attack bonus. After getting him down to that point, however, they become a liability in this fight. Then you want them to drop dead as fast as possible, and the fight becomes a pure test of endurance, super blocking basically every attack you possibly can. And since both V and Leaf are knocked out, you only do 1 damage every turn. Missing a single super block can heal Scarlet for 2 HP, depending on the severity, even more. Now just ask yourself, how long do you think you'd be able to survive in this fight before you crack? Constantly restoring your TP, repeatedly healing yourself because Scarlet's not doing damage to you but the poison sure will be, inching ever closer turn by turn, fighting against that ever so dreadful fear of missing even 1 super block that really will cost you, and then being sent back to the very beginning. This was a nightmare, and on the attempt I was actually about to succeed, I almost choked. I felt the game skip a frame, and I ended up blocking too early. I then panicked, but here's the thing, I also had lots of TP left over still from the fight. So I revived Leaf, having him in the front of the party, and had him keep bubble shooting himself. With some of that heat taken off of Leaf, I was then free to keep using Pebble Toss on Scarlet, until eventually I got him down to 2 HP, and I said this. Okay, I did it, thank God. Yes, I was, if you can tell, I was under a lot of pressure. Had to keep telling myself, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. Just calm down, and scene. I've never been so glad to break someone's horn off their freaking body. My God, that was a nightmare. Long live the king. Also, as it turns out, there's actually some really useful medals in the Underground Tavern too. To name a few, there's Super Block Plus as well as Poison Defender. Yes, we do have those medals already, but having a duplicate never really hurt. And now we're ready for the Honey Factory. But let's talk about something here. As you already know, we're trapped in the Honey Factory once we step inside. And as a result, we can't go back outside to get more items. It's a good thing then we have all those items left over from Monster Scarlet, because they'll be very useful for the bosses in this chapter. Starting with the Triad of Obama Honey. So you know how if you attack the Obama Honey just one time, it sinks to the ground? Yeah, basically, Kabu can only do 1 damage per turn to each Obama Honey, which isn't great because they hurt a lot, and it's really hard to tell when they actually attack. Push Rock just does not do any favors here. They can also explode, which they didn't in this fight, but that's just some food for thought. This would be my advice. Focus on only 1, maybe 2 at a time. Using all 3 of your turns to hit every single one of them could actually put you in really big trouble, because once they get damaged, there's no telling when they'll choose to blow up. And if they blow up, not only will you get absolutely 0 exploration points for their defeat, but that explosion hurts a lot. And not to mention, it heals fellow Obama Honeys too. So don't let that happen. It's a good thing for as much of a nuisance as a Honey Nation is, it can't drop to the ground, nor can it explode. It can heal, but that's about the worst you have to worry about. It can hurt for a lot of damage, but fortunately for us, we just so happen to have plenty of items to rely on here. With patience and good guarding, we'll be able to win this fight in maybe around 10 minutes or so. Yeah, that may sound like a very long time, but remember the challenge we're doing right here. With all of this accomplished, we're ready for the Heavy Drone B33. And it's here the second Super Block Plus really comes in handy as well. While it's very often that both V and Leaf will be in danger, Kabu is very much never in danger. By now, I have plenty of defense, and the TP afforded by Queen Sinners allow me to also have enough TP to survive this fight too. Albeit barely, because I did want to speed the process up, and I wanted to have both Leaf and V be around to actually relay turns to Kabu as well. Ironically, this fight took less time than Spooter did, which was surprising. A pleasant surprise, but surprising. Chapter 3 is now behind us, and ahead of us, the challenge becomes significantly easier. A lot more things open up to us, i.e. meditation medals and Mother Chomper. I can't use Chompy in this challenge, but I can use TP Core, the hard mode reward from Mother Chomper. I did this fight about the same way I did Monster Scarlet, except here it was even easier because Mother Chomper can't steal my HP. I mean, she does have an attack that can do it, but not if you're not in the front. As for the Chompers, I merely just waited until one of them spawned the Chomper behind Mother Chomper, and then I took them both out of using my Pebble Toss. The rest of the fight then basically just became me using Pebble Toss a bunch, using Drowsy Case to replenish my HP and TP, as well as giving me poison status thanks to weak stomach, blocking everything possible, and when my poison expires, replenish it. This will go on until death, and then we'd be able to get our Chopper Seed, which we can't use, but more importantly, our TP Core Medal. Now, considering just how much of a pain in the butt it's been to try keeping our TP up with items, you can only imagine the relief I felt when we were able to have that be automatically restored. Just like that, this challenge became just that much easier. There's also sharing stash, which I got because consider the fact that fights will take a long time, the party-wide heal will be very much appreciated, trust me. And not too much later, after getting some more items, we fight Broodmother. This fight was so slow. It's simply not practical to attack the midgets that are summoned, and every time you attack Broodmother, her midgets, either one or both, will start attacking you. Out of my 4th day of streaming, my brain was on autopilot. But yeah, this fight was slow, wasn't really hard though. After all, TP is no longer a concern. And with Taunt, both Leaf and V are relatively safe here too. Kabu also just had enough defense where it didn't really matter if he was getting attacked. And with Broodmother down, we get one of the best medals in the entire game, Miracle Matter. It is so on! There's just one more thing to do, and that's to give Kabu his orange horn. He will finally get to break the rock, and once he does, we get the medal, Mighty Pebble. Our wee baby little Pebble is about to get super powered. Anyway, Astophiles. Yeah, there's really nothing to this fight. I will say though that the fact that you can't use items here means you're required to either have the meditation medals or TP core. And I really don't have to tell you about Astophiles' attacks and how you can't predict them right because of the tangerine thing. You really don't need me to tell you that. Yeah, this has to be one of the absolute worst times to not be able to tell what the attack actually is. There are still cues, but they're really hard to spot, and visually it's still that much harder because there's no real audio to go off of. It's still a very possible fight. After venturing through that little escape room, we fight through Scorpion. This is a fight that really got me to want to get Sharing Stash. That AoE Boulder Toss is like a taunt to me. It does a lot of damage, and it does damage to every bug. With Sharing Stash, however, I can combat the damage with my healing. After another admittedly really long fight, we're able to throw one more pebble to... I feel so disappointed. Like, yeah, one hand I threw a tangerine and it managed to actually KO a mini-boss. But given this was a push rock run, I was honestly hoping we'd throw Kabu instead. The sand castle wasn't really that special. There's really nothing of value here, and the only required fight aside from the Watcher? Yeah, you can damage Wardens, but odds are they'll explode before they have the chance to be KO'd. And unfortunately, that's exactly what just happened, so no real reward here. Because as we all know, the last thing I need is being able to get more exploration points. We can fight the Watcher now, but I'm afraid to actually do it. I may be good at super blocking in this game, but I don't want to get frozen, because if I get frozen even one time, that can spell disaster. And it just so happened that I had no freeze resistance medals either. But then I remembered, all the grinding I did back at the theater, I actually have a lot of bandits knocked out under my belt. Which actually means that if I go back to talk to Ven and take his trouble, I can actually claim my reward already. And yes, I remembered this medal existing, but not the one you can buy from Marab. My memory is very selective. This is concerning considering that I'm only 25 years old, but what can you do? Now the Watcher was annoying. I'm not really worried about damage I'm taking, more so being frozen. The off chance that the Watcher using the Cyclone attack against me also can be really troublesome, but fast smashing tends to mean that he'll only be able to steal 1 HP at a time. And if I'm smart using Bubble Shield, well, he'll only get 0 damage off of me. Which is about all I care to lose at any point in time. Also, it can't choose to heal 6 HP, but it can only do it 1 time, so in reality that's not really a big deal. And since Pebble Toss ignores any and all defense, well, let's just hope the Watcher only focuses on increasing that and not its attack stat. All in all, this fight was tame. 4 chapters deep into this challenge, we're now finished collecting artifacts. But of course, there is still a lot of the game left to go. After getting robbed by Hoax, Chapter 5 begins, and while in this state, it easily is the best time to grind possible. With Maki by our side, we can have him do a lot of damage in very little time to enemies we encounter. At most, Kabu does 3 damage every turn. Maki does 6 in 1 hit. And yes, this damage does not come from Pebble Toss, but there's also literally no way around it. Even if we didn't want his help, the Wild Swamplands has a Leaf Bug ambush waiting for us, and Maki will help us fight there too. And even after that, there's a Dead Landers ambush in Chapter 7. There's just nothing we can really do about it, so I don't really bother trying to fight against it. I then would go on the grind for about half an hour to get 5 extra rank ups. Now around this time, I really wasn't sure what to do. At first, I wanted to get some more items to try the Cave of Trials, but did not take long to realize that would not really work out very well. Between the fact that it took 20 minutes to get to round 6, and just the fact that my viewers did not want to see me try this yet, we'll just have to come back to this later. So instead I tried Upper Snakemouth Lab, and wow, this was bad. It needs to be said, it's a very good thing I got Miracle Matter from Broodmother before coming in here, because mentally I was clearly not all there, and the following status numbers of zombies plus the damage I put from Zombeetles really put me in the back foot. The fight had just started and I was already in really big trouble. If not for the defense and healing I was afforded by my do-nothing battles, I'd have gotten knocked out for certain. But fortunately, we had a pretty big safety net, and despite being rather slow, we were able to win this fight in about 5 minutes. Not too much later, Zomboff would also be approaching us. With a whopping 110 HP, yeah, this fight's a very long one. And obviously, there was zero chance we'd be able to survive this fight without a bunch of items to heal with too. At least before Chapter 6. I'm not quite capable of getting HP core medals yet. Nonetheless, Queen's Dinners are fantastic items, further complemented by the fact that our defenses were just really solid. Though this fight could still go very wrong in one very severe way. And that's if the summon that Zomboff summoned was something like, say, a zombie, or a zombeetle, or heaven forbid a bloat shroom. One of my older challenges, which was Questless Hardest, it really showed why bloat shrooms are so problematic to fight against, because when they do their spore attack, that actually heals other fungi, except for Leaf apparently. Fortunately here, only a jelly shroom was summoned, which is pretty harmless. After almost 20 minutes, we won the fight, which then treats us to a rather humorous cutscene where we see Tangerine talk about Leaf being dead. Yeah, I find humor in weird areas. Don't judge me. Block Heal is definitely useful, but of course I can't use either Frost Relay or Ice Rain, aside from of course navigating the area. But at the very least, we can now encounter more bosses, so let's try Seedling King next. His Hard Seeds really don't do very much. Yes, they can hit multiple times, but Kabu's not getting hurt, so the risk in depth in Phase 1 is practically non-existent as long as I'm good at blocking. Phase 2 is more dangerous, but only on account of technicality. Like, yes, Seedling King does do more damage, but as long as I'm super blocking, even when I take 1 point of damage, Block Heal heals it back to max. For what it's worth though, this fight did take me more than 20 minutes to finish, though all the same, only one attempt. And even though I can't really grind here in Seedling Haven because, well, golden ceilings are impervious to Pebble Toss, this still gives us a second TP core, and you really can't go wrong with that at all. We then fought Devourer, even though there's really no point in doing it, and this fight took me only 12 minutes. About all I really did here was just have Kabu in the back get everyone else knocked out, and threw Pebble after Pebble after Pebble until Devourer finally got knocked out. With there being absolutely zero risk in Kabu getting trapped, this fight was a piece of cake. And thanks to Block Heal, I didn't even have to waste time using items. It then took 22 minutes to knock out Tidal Worm. There's absolutely no point in targeting the tail. Just shoot for the head. The boss can do decent damage, but I've got really good healing items. I have also been trying an interesting tactic in this fight. If you're curious, I actually gave Kabu Status Relay. His defense and natural HP are already so high, I actually find it more worthwhile to V use her sharing stash just to have Kabu then relay his extra HP restoration to some other bug. It's actually pretty effective. Not too much later, Tidal Worm gets sunk. And there's just one more boss I want to try fighting before we go to Chapter 5, and that's Sen NPC. Now these two, I'm actually kind of concerned about because they can heal each other. It's only for 4 HP, but 4 is still more than 3, so it could actually be enough to stall me out. However, to my surprise, they never really did try to do that, and the whole shebang lasted around maybe 10 minutes across both fights. The first encounter, Sen never healed PC, and in the second encounter, he barely ever healed PC. Just gonna leave her hanging, huh? Some duo you both ended up being. Not only do they both suck, their spike cards suck. With nothing else to really do, we finally are starting Chapter 5's bosses. Though this first fight isn't necessarily a boss fight, it is worth mentioning. The Leaf Bug ambush can hit really freaking hard. We are dealing with enemies that get +1 charge every time one of their comrades gets hurt. And Pebble Toss only does 1 damage per hit. So to get the maximum damage possible, gives every enemy we fight max charge. That makes things a lot harder. Like, these enemies are no slouches, they hit really hard, especially the Clubber. But fortunately, we have Maki helping us. And there's really no way around this, like I can't do this fight without Maki. But yeah, real talk, no complaints here, I encourage it. Though after these 3 are dealt with, we then have to deal with the Beast. And this fight started out pretty well, but then became pure agony. Major problem with this boss is that it can burrow under the ground, and when it does that, we can't hurt it with Pebble Toss, and its attacks will heal it. We're only doing 1 damage per hit, so you already know that healing any damage off is not going to be good for us at all. However, we're not without a workaround. Leaf does have a skill called Frigid Coffin. Yes, the rules do say that only Pebble Toss can do any and all damage from Team Snakemouth. But what if I told you that we don't need Frigid Coffin to do damage to get the beast from under the ground? After using the move with Leaf, we can then just hit the correct button 1 time, and then the 3-button prompt, we can fail the very first button, and the beast will take 0 damage but also be from under the ground. It will be more costly in our TP, but I'd rather have to use more TP anyway than have to deal more damage. But I didn't think this very thoroughly. You see, I only have 1 Miracle Matter medal, and that's on V, who I can't have used Hurricane Toss because it would do damage. What I should have done was give that medal to Leaf instead. Having not done that, if Leaf gets knocked out, I have to have Kabu use his pep talk to bring him back from the dead. And it's a real shame, because both Leaf and V got knocked out a lot throughout this fight. And speaking of this fight, it only got worse and worse as it went on. Especially after the point where gained times 2 attacking status, where the dang thing went from using charge attacks literally every turn back to back to back, which just meant that he was able to hit me really freaking hard very freaking often, to where this thing would just do absolutely nothing but stay under the ground. Which again means that I can't hit it. I even had it happen 1 time where he re-emerged from under the ground just to immediately go back under the ground so he would keep healing off of me. I've never seen that before, probably because I tend to beat this boss in really quick fashion. But hey, first time for everything, am I right? And yeah, this fight took more than 20 minutes on my first attempt. But once we finally got the beast to the 10 HP range, well, from there it was all set in stone what would happen. He stopped healing off of me, and my Pebble Toss slowly but surely whittled him down to death. Now, seeing that fight, I sincerely hope that you were not expecting me to use Hustle Candies and Shock Candies to bypass the 10 HP Last Stand attack, because after this display, I can guarantee you it would not have worked. Now, aside from the main story, there was still not very much else to really do. I did go to get the second Reflection medal, but that was really it. After that, we went to Ultimax. And I just have to say, it looks like someone really didn't get the memo that this is a push rock run. Unlike literally every other challenge I've done, this time I actually target Ultimax himself first. This is because I learned this from my Chompy only run, but Ultimax can heal his teammates. And he can heal them for a very, very long period of time. So in the interest of speed, I knock out Ultimax first, and then I target the Wasp Driller. Why the Wasp Driller? Because it can burrow under the ground and I can't reach it then. When I can't reach the Driller, I target the Bomber. Over time, slowly but surely, they both will get knocked out, and Chapter 5 is all but complete. Around now in this game, I like to goof off, but there really isn't much else to do. Instead, my eyes are set on the Primal Weevil. Now, here's something that I think is really funny. Before going into this fight, I had a nagging suspicion that the best thing to do was give Kabu Shock Trooper. This is because it's been a while since I had to actually worry about blocking any of this guy's attacks, and it is an AoE numbing attack that can get me easily killed. When did you know it? One of the very first attacks it used numbed my entire party, and then he went, lunged at Kabu, grabbed him, threw him like a freaking football, and then punted him on the ground. That could have easily taken Kabu out, but I thought ahead. After that though, I became a lot more cognizant of that attack being used, so I was super blocking significantly more often. And the fight itself wasn't very special. Yeah, there were some near misses, but nothing was really that bad. Especially since in Chapter 5, I went to stock up on some extra magic seeds, so I wasn't really going to get knocked out and then not have any chance of coming back up. We used a lot of sharing stashes, and in general just played really safe. And wouldn't you know it, this fight actually didn't last as long as most others did. This time only being 13 minutes long. Still a long time, but not as long as most other fights. And this brings us to the Coliseum. No shortcuts here, we just gotta brawl. First were the Forsaken Landers. My blocks in general were pretty sloppy. I missed quite a few blocks from the Mimic Spider. That aside, predictably, this fight would not take very long. Cross and Poi though, oh my god, these two had no business being this annoying. These two are packing some items, in particular, succulent platters, and they use them a lot throughout this fight. In addition to doing very decent damage to both Leaf and V, and having even one of them get knocked out means that I can't match their healing. This fight was repetitive. Very, very repetitive. Honestly, this is what I was worried Centipede C would be like, But I guess better late than never, right? Well, no. In this instance, better never to happen. But it did. And then there was Zasp and Mothra, who were honestly not even that bad to begin with. Earlier in the game, they were troublesome, because it didn't have the TP to really outlast without losing lots of items. Now though that I have TP core, let's just say their star has all but burned up. I have plenty of defenses now, I have plenty of TP now, and Zasp only getting a maximum of +1 charge does not lend himself very well to being very offensively gifted. Yes, he can still taunt, but that just wastes time. It doesn't make this fight any harder. All that we have to do here is get Mothra down to 1 HP, then focus on Zasp until he gets to 1 HP himself. From there, take them both out. Ladies first, and nice guys finish last. The story of my life, I'm passing it down to you. There are still a few more bosses we can tackle, but we're not quite ready for them yet. And by them, I mean False Monarch. Get it? Because False Monarch's a bunch of mob fighters under a cloak. Peacock Spider though, no, let's take her on. By now, I have life cast, and I figured I kinda wanna try using this medal, because in theory, you can survive for a very long time off of your HP, with HP cores and reverse toxin. Sure enough, it gets the job done. And block heal is still as effective as ever in keeping one of my bugs alive that's not Kabu. But yeah, the reason I'm doing Peacock Spider right now is simply because Peacock Spider cannot heal herself. She can heal the Diving Spider, but not herself, and that makes this boss easy pickings. You also may get the note here that I'm able to use Pebble Toss on the Diving Spider with his bubble shield up. This may or may not come into effect with the fight with the Everlasting King. Just saying. We can also get ourselves our first Last Stand medal, which might I add will be instrumental in fighting the False Monarch. ShyBluxer137 says so, shoutouts to him, subscribe to him today, iCards in the top right corner of the video. But we're not gonna fight False Monarch yet. We're gonna fight Riz because if I don't fight him, then I'm gonna feel this challenge is incomplete. From my first run, I decided I wanted to use a poison strat because Riz otherwise can be very problematic to try surviving against. Being inked, meaning that I can't use my Pebble Toss, is not going to help either. However, ShyBluxer also mentioned I should probably equip Resist All for the 50% sweet chance of not getting inked if I miss a block. And I agreed with him. And that was a blunder. Do you know why? Because Resist All also prevents me from getting poisoned sometimes. Not only did it block Weak Stomach, it also blocked some of Riz's poison bombs. And I was so confused at first because I was just thinking, I get hit by the bomb, but I didn't hear the poison sound effect go off for getting poisoned. As it turned out, every time I tried to get myself poisoned, the game did not let me get poisoned. Why? Because Resist All. And after I realized this mistake, Riz never used a poison bomb on me ever again. He knew what I wanted to do, and he did not let me get it. And sure enough, when I was halfway through this fight, I got knocked out. It didn't help that this fight will be extremely confusing in its own right, because I'm only used to being able to block when Riz has this normal sprite, and I can use that as a visual cue. With Tangerine, he doesn't even reach me half the time when he attacks me, and as a result, I don't know when to block. Though to be fair, the way I played this fight, I deserve to lose. Yes, I joked around saying I just got cabbied by ShyBluxer, but it was all my fault for not thinking it through all the way. The second time around though, I dropped Resist All to instead equip Heal Plus to V, and now being able to actually get poison, this fight went significantly better. Good thing too, because I played this fight even worse. Had no idea that was even possible, but it would not be the first time I was proven wrong about something. And when it comes down to Bug Fables, I'm not often wrong. Though apparently tarantulas aren't spiders, and all this time I thought they were. But after a fight that took 30 freaking minutes altogether, we managed to survive against Riz. There aren't very many other optional bosses to take on. The only other two to exist are False Monarch and Cali and Kabu. It should go without saying, but Cali and Kabu is impossible. Why? Because we can't use Pebble Toss in that challenge. We probably could do that fight if we played it like how we did in Chapter 1, but let's focus on False Monarch for now. This fight is not impossible, but it is highly improbable. False Monarch can already do a lot of damage to you, but the real kicker are the Mothflies that he can summon. When these Mothflies return to False Monarch, they heal False Monarch for 4 HP each. Honestly, of all the bosses that can heal themselves, this is by far the most difficult. Even Monsieur Scarlet, yes I'm pronouncing this name correctly now, can only heal if he does damage to you, and you can actually cut his healing off with enough defense. But False Monarch? There's nothing you can do about it. Your only choice in this fight to win revolves entirely on luck, which to be frank, I am not ready to put up with right now. We might come back to this boss in the future to try and challenge it, but right now, it's not a priority. Though if I wanted to try fighting Team Slacker, this fight is required. There is also one more boss I did forget about though, and that's Carmina. When you get past the potential for getting yourself inked by her roulette, this fight is actually pretty straightforward and surprisingly easy. Yes, she does have her unblockable dice block, but she can also poison herself. And being that this roulette is entirely out of my control, yeah, you can't really blame me for getting this kind of good luck. There are times she will heal herself, of course, maybe she'll get plus 3 HP or she'll put herself to sleep, but all the same, the healing is so slow and so absolutely minuscule, it really does not hurt our progress through this fight in the long run. I must say, this fight was a pleasant surprise. Continuing on though, what else is there really to talk about? Ultimax Tank? This boss is not threatening. Not only is the Ultimax Tank's damage absolutely pitiable, but thanks to TP Core, we are just perfectly content biding our time and waiting to slowly but surely chip this tank down. By the way, as it turns out, I may have someone of stability instead of Mataba. You know why? Because General Fuff right here is a total traitor. What do I mean by that? Well, look at him. And you may notice something really odd. Back in the Wasp Kingdom, he was a Tangerine. But now in Chapter 6, he's no longer a Tangerine, but a Wasp. Oh, he tried to plead for mercy after the fact too. He honestly thought that he could leave our tangy religion and then try to come back, just begging for mercy, but mercy was not to be had. This guy betrayed us. Even after the fight, he's no longer a Tangerine. He's back to being his old self. As a result of this grave sin against his blood, we will punish him. But first and foremost, we're freezing his body solid. As for his punishment, I'll leave that to you, the viewer, to decide. As far as the future of this challenge is concerned though, I go to get myself an Iron Seed from this berry salesman in Defiant Root. It's a shame though you have to buy the Super Pepper first because I can't really use this for anything. But now we're in Chapter 7 and the Deadlanders ambush us. Or so they think. Yeah, it's not much of an ambush if you've already seen them coming like 10 times now. Now, a fight with 3 different Deadlanders has a lot of potential to be absolutely nightmarish for us to deal with. Fortunately for me though, not so much for your enjoyment, we have Maki helping us here. Since Maki attacking does a whopping 6 damage per hit, it honestly only makes sense to just stall and wait for Maki to do everything for us. After all, this isn't violating any rules, we can't stop Maki from doing any damage, and he's not a part of Team Snakemouth like Princess would be. So after pretty much only fumbling about waiting for Maki to do everything for us, we're good to continue. And I did the same thing with the fire constructs too. The most I did concerning damage was drop everyone's HP to a multiple of 6. Past that, I did not do anything of note. It is a shame though that this is the fullest extent we'll get help from Maki, but I must say, I did appreciate his contributions for this challenge. From giving us our Explorer's Permit, to helping us level up in Chapter 5, to these past 2 fights, Maki has been nothing short of invaluable. The final boss is not too far away from now, but we still have False Monarch to tackle, so let's try him again. I opted to completely revamp my stats first because this fight took a very particular build to survive in. Kabu's running Poison, but it's V who's running my Super Block Plus medals. As for Leaf, he has Miracle Matter as well as Last Stand. The reason why is because the chip damage otherwise from the Mawflies will wear him down. At least now he can take a hit. And when he inevitably does go down, well, guess what? After a couple of turns, he'll be revived anyway. So yes, Kabu's a stonewall, but V is also very capable of surviving basically anything. And Leaf, despite being very frail, can reanimate on his own. It did still take us some luck, but False Monarch was slowly but surely going down. Now, don't quote me on this, but I think that attacking the Mawflies so they don't heal False Monarch for as much HP actually reduces the chances that they go to heal False Monarch. At least it feels like that. And once False Monarch's HP falls low enough, well, he'll start charging every now and then. Which for our challenge run basically just means that he will not be summoning Mawflies for the next turn. It took an ordinary amount of time, but after enough patience, we did end up winning. All the bounties are dealt with now, but there is still Callie and Kabu, and it just would not feel right if we did not fight her before the final boss. I'm going at this fight like I was in Chapter 1, so instead of Pebble Toss, we're only using our basic attack because Kabu's under Callie's influence. At the very least, this fight was mercifully short. After attempt number 1, where I accidentally put Leaf in the back and V in the front because she does too much damage, it was all around just very easy. Callie does not attack at all she does is buff Kabu. And since she can't heal herself, it was just taking her HP from max to 0. There's really no strings attached here at all. Well, contrary to what Callie says, but who cares what she has to say. Just be thankful that this time I can't use Frost Relay on your behind. And now that she is down and out, well, hey, I think it's time for the main event. You already know him, you likely hate him. He would be the Wasp King. Before starting this fight, however, I got a lot of items. In particular, I got 2 shot candies and about 13 hustle candies. The reason for these items is because of a very particular exploit I want to use in the fight with the Everlasting King. However, this also means I'm doing the Wasp King fight itemless. The way I did this fight involved making sure that every one of my bugs could survive as long as possible. To this end, not only did Kabu have a lot of defense, but V's Sharing Stash healed a ton of HP every time it was used. She has both heal pluses equipped. But not only that, she's also using Life Cast, because I don't want her to use my TP up because Kabu needs it the most. It's kinda crazy how this move works. The only real drawback is that if V gets knocked out, I have to use Pep Talk to revive her, otherwise she can't heal herself. This is because Life Cast does not reduce the cost of Sharing Stash and Secret Stash. So to mitigate this, I have a bunch of heal pluses on V, so as long as she isn't attacked, she will still receive a net gain of HP recovery thanks to the gradual effect of Sharing Stash. And of course, the bonus for +2 and some other turns HP recovery to both Leaf and Kabu will do an absolutely excellent job of keeping them both alive. And good thing too, because the Wasp King hits like a truck. His attacks do a lot of damage. Some attacks can even hit multiple bugs. It's for this reason that being able to heal everybody well enough is a fantastic trait to have. We honestly just could not hope for a better bug to heal us than V. The Wasp King can also heal himself, but it's not very severe. Spicy Fries heal for 4, Burly Chips heal for 5. It is not a lot of damage that he's healing off. And while this fight took a long time, it would not compare to the absolute terror that the Everlasting King is. Let me level with you all. 1 year ago, I did a challenge run for this channel called Chompy Only. The point of that challenge was to play through the entire game using only Chompy to do any damage at all. This fight was where the run ended. You might be asking why. Well, it's simple. The reason was that Chompy cannot even reach the Everlasting King while he's airborne. And there's also just no way to get him to fall down. We face a very similar problem for this fight. Namely in that, when on the ground, the Everlasting King heals 3 HP, which coincidentally enough, is the maximum damage we can do with Pebble Toss, with Kabu using all 3 bugs' turns. The only way for any damage at all to stick is if the Everlasting King were to fly up into the air after we hurt him. But having to heal every now and then, and of course not doing 3 damage, the maximum we can do whenever he's on the ground, means it'd be difficult if not impossible for us to match his ability to heal himself. This does not even account for the fact that the Everlasting King is a very versatile attacker in his own right. Between his axe, fire magic, and of course the artifacts he summons, including the tablet that gives him a bubble shield, this fight very well can last forever. However, even given how much of a trouble that this fight should be for us, what if I told you I knew a way to actually make my damage stick? Once enough turns have passed and the Everlasting King feels like it, he can summon the tablet. This tablet, the Ancient Tablet, summons a bubble shield around him to protect him from attacks. No matter what you try against the Everlasting King, he will take 0 damage. Except for Pebble Toss. I kid you not. This is the only move that can hurt the Everlasting King when he is protected by a bubble shield. And yes, this is a fight where you can only hurt the Everlasting King when he has a shield. This defies literally any kind of video game logic to ever exist. You can only hurt him when his shield is active. Let that sink in. If you were to hurt the Everlasting King with Pebble Toss when he has no shield active, he will fall to the ground and start healing your damage off. But hurting the Everlasting King when his shield is active keeps him from falling down to the ground. And because he's airborne, he's not healing. Even with that knowledge, this fight can take a very long time, largely in part to the fact that you can only hurt the Everlasting King every other turn, because that's how often the tablet actually activates. And survival is still an issue. To elaborate, you know that Keyblade that the Everlasting King has? You know, the attack where he combines both of his keys into one, and then cuts through you with a laser that does 10 damage? He used that move against me 6 times in a row. Honestly, I needed V here more than ever before, because for all intents and purposes, There are not enough derogatory marks I can make in response to this to justify my rage here. This was inhuman. And to think, this fight would go on for 3 whole phases. But I do know a thing or two about how to exploit this game. The 2 shock candies and 13 hustle candies are going to be put to use here. Once I get the Everlasting King down to only having 11 HP left, I get V ready to keep healing everyone as much as possible, just providing a massive buffer of extra HP recovery so that a few extra hits from the Everlasting King and his keys don't cause us to get knocked out because of getting weakened. From there, I would have Kabu get numbed and then start stuffing him with hustle candy. I needed 2 shock candies because I had to keep Kabu numbed for at least 5 turns. From there, V and Leaf had to survive and keep stuffing Kabu with hustle candy. Thanks to Shock Trooper, Kabu was safe. He could not take any damage at all. And this process would continue to go on until Kabu's numbness would expire. When it did, I think I had like 14 turns to act before my turn ended. And from there, I started chucking pebbles at the Everlasting King. I dropped them down to 10, to 9, to 8, to 7, so on and so forth. The reason this works is because the developers of Bug Fables specifically made this possible. They programmed the Everlasting King and the Beast for that matter that Pebble Toss can reduce their damage below 10 and ignoring the HP triggers that would trigger separate phases. As a result, if you know this exploit, you can beat the Everlasting King in phase 1. And just like that, you can beat Bug Fables the Everlasting Sapling with only Pebble Toss. Now, I personally would like to go off and do something else with my time. But one day before this video was supposed to go live, I did end up doing one more live stream for this challenge run. I decided we give Team Maki and Team Sucker just one fight just to see if they'd be possible or not. All of the bounties have been defeated already, but we still have to fight leaf bugs in the far grasslands before we can fight Team Maki. Since I'm really rusty at this game, having not played it in weeks, I missed almost every block and Kabu got knocked out. There's a certain word I want to call myself, but if I did, people would get mad at me. So be it, I'll bite on my tongue for you. Our Pebble Tosser may have fainted, and we have no way of reviving him, but we still have Maki to help us. So I just had Leaf spam Bubble Shield on himself, and we eventually won because of Maki doing so much damage in one hit. The only fights left to exist are Team Maki and Team Slacker. To start with Team Maki, I first went the Biometal from the Tourniquet. I figured that Fortify Plus would be fantastic in this fight, but as it turns out, the metal did almost nothing of value. Team Maki just is not threatening at all for this challenge. Honestly, my biggest fear here was Mien. I thought she'd be healing herself a lot, but she only healed herself once. The only other character capable of healing is Kina, and to my knowledge, she can only heal Maki anyway. All I really had to do was just have V keep spamming her sharing stash, and with Leaf relaying his turn to Kabu, we just have to keep our guard up, and we're basically guaranteed to win this. Yes, Maki has higher attack power on the count of Bien getting knocked out, but Kina is a much bigger threat if you were to actually attack Maki because of her charge stat. And Maki on his own may be able to hit really hard, but his ability to do damage is still a far cry compared to V's ability to heal it off. We may have to throw a lot of pebbles to win this fight, but without a healer, it really won't matter if I'm only doing 1 damage per hit. Those ones will add up, and eventually you're going down. So that takes care of one of the most infamous fights in the entire game. But what about the most infamous fight in the game? Prepare yourself for the unmitigated nightmare that is Team Slacker. Yes, the facts do stand that Team Maki has 3 members while Team Slacker only has 2. But understand this, the trio's total max HP is only a little bit higher than the duo's max. We're comparing what, 198 to let's say 170? But here's the kicker, Team Slacker could use items. You know what I'm talking about. Queen's Dinners, Magic Seeds, Hustle Berries, not to be confused with their permanent hustle status, and that blazing bazooka that Delilah has. To say this fight was annoying would be an understatement. It was annoying, it was tedious, it was frustrating, it was obnoxious. Above all, it felt unfair. And for as long as I spent on this fight, I still felt like I was in control. The truth of the matter is that I did not even know if this fight was actually possible. Despite the seemingly infinite reserve of items that Team Slacker had at their disposal, and the excruciating pain of having your defense be lowered by Stratos' saber, or just constantly being inked by Delilah's bazooka and not being able to throw pebbles, we still had our options. We had tons of items to heal with. At least in this case, we had a bunch of glazed honeys. We also still had bubble shields and sharing stash. and poison strats to keep ourselves alive. And the Vegas ink so that she can't heal, she also has status relay, a metal I use to relay her bad statuses off of her so that she can still heal other bugs. But the real sleeping giant here was Taunt. The Lightless Bazooka is extremely hard to block, to say nothing of all the attacks you can try to super block in that move. The various different projectiles and speeds make it very hard to tell which projectile is going to hit which bug. With Taunt though, they're all hitting Kabu, and with how much defense he typically has, he'll take little to no damage. It's cheaper than Bubble Shield, and of course it keeps Leaf safe. When I say I like to be thorough, I mean I am thorough. I mean, yes, I would prefer to not have to worry about them having times 2 attacking status the entire time, but there are some things you just cannot predict. Especially when the burden of discovery is on me, and prior to now, we didn't even know if this fight could be possible. But guess what? It is possible. I did it. And having done it, with confidence I can say I don't want to play this challenge ever again. Hey, so the challenge may be over, but don't leave quite yet. If somehow this video did not satisfy you and you want to see more Bug Fables challenges, check out the iCard in the top right corner of the video. You know, where the arrow is pointing or something. I don't know what challenge will be there quite yet, but all the same I think you'll enjoy it. Or maybe this video did satisfy you. In that case, stick around, I have some stuff to say. And after I finish, you can do whatever else you want, I guess. I mean, I can't stop you from going now, but... well, you get the idea. So this video was like 57 minutes long. That's a long freaking time to watch a video. I'd say I hope you liked it, but if you watched this far in, you likely already do like it. You know, I wanted to put this really emotional speech about how I'm thankful I have 1,000 subscribers right now, but I honestly just couldn't get into it at the moment, and I have to get this video up before tomorrow because I wanted to have this uploaded on Saturday, and it's Friday night I'm recording this voiceover at this very moment. I do, however, feel it's only right to extend a thank you to my subscribers, especially Sugar Bun, Brace Battle, and Ricardo. Those 3 are probably my longest withstanding fans from my Pokemon Challenge days, and they've given me a ton of support, whether financially or morally speaking. One more thing to mention is that since my channel is monetized, I would like to use it to start making some money, so if you have the means to donate or maybe become a channel member, please do consider it. Life has been getting pretty hard, and it's been taking time away from me doing streams and playing this game to get more content out for you all to watch. Though if you can't donate, that's perfectly fine. Honestly, all I really ask is that you watch my videos. As long as people enjoy watching me put myself through the ringer doing ridiculous challenges in this one game, or Paper Mario, depends on what I upload, I'm happy with that. And speaking of Paper Mario, well, you can click on the video on the screen right now and check out my video on Super Paper Mario. Until next time, thanks for watching, I'll see you all next time.